It's time for news analysis where we review all the headlines trending today. And as usual, I have the wise men here who are in position to review the news with me. Idauza is here. Idauza, good morning. How are you today?
Femi, good morning.
You look bright as usual.
Oh my God. Good morning, our viewers.
Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show today.
Blessing, you are here as usual. Great.
Yes.
Glad to have you. It's
Same
like
here.
you got the memo.
Yeah.
A choice of color.
I think that memo, I don't know how you work it. I need to change
I'll tell
the address where that memo goes to.
Great minds think alike.
Oh
That's
my
the secret.
God.
Just in case you're wondering what Femi is talking about. Yesterday, Femi wore a color similar to the one I was wearing. And today again, he's tried that and succeeded. But tomorrow, he will not succeed at doing that.
Let's see what happens tomorrow. All right, let's go to news analysis. Now, we'll start with this interesting but sad story, which is the National Information Technology Agency has warned Nigerians on cryptocurrency giveaways on social media, specifically on TikTok users. This comes, according to the agency's disguise, as cryptocurrency giveaways by notable names and organizations, and deceive individuals into making crypto payments and briefing their cryptocurrency wallets. Idauza, scammers, they're at work. Well, one will own up to the fact that the social media space is largely unregulated. And perhaps this informed the reason these scammers have taken advantage of this loophole to start, fleecing Nigerians and people who are vulnerable on social media using, a special giveaway on cryptocurrency. We know that some people like to store their values in crypto now because it's more valuable than Naira and the rest. Talk to us.
Well, I think this has been with us for some time now. And I'm not sure that it's likely to end very soon. And this is issues that we will have to deal with for some time. I remember in the early 90s, you have this trend. They used to call it wash, where some people keep one big boss in a room and ask people that they imported something from somewhere. And then they take you into the room and they say they want to buy chemical. And they bring out one paper like this, wash it, and they give you $100 and your head trips. And then they say they are looking for money to buy the chemical to wash the remaining part of the dollar, because in your present they throw away this water they use in washing the first one, and then they ask you to go and get money, and everybody is running head-scatter, taking money where they don't have it. So the scammers have been always there, and this is what really had given us a whole lot of bad name across the globe. And this trend with Nigeria, India, Lebanese, real involved in this kind of scam is not a good thing. Again, speaks to the ascent of value in systems. But I think it's very quite instructive that you are having a federal agency coming to say, beware of scammers. So buyers beware, caveat emptor, that is what they call it. So you have to be very careful that when people are promising so much, it's not just about the crypto. There's also the Ponzi scheme that comes with very high yielding returns that a lot of people are falling victim of and ripping off people. And these are issues that, of course, Nigerians need to be educated, and the media as well here need to really get Nigeria informed. Before you have to look before you leap, as they used to say. You don't just see something as if, say, oh, this is interesting, and start to click buttons. Because all that the scammers want is to get access to your hard-earned resource. Nobody give anything free. Like they say, there's no free lunch, even in Freetown. So we have to be very careful as people not to fall victim of these very vicious and devious human beings who pretend to be offering assistance, but with the intention to dupe and take away what does not belong to them.
Yeah, and the scheme that some of these scammers have devised is that they use influencers that are adored by the public. people who they see on the screen who are into one entertainment business or one entertainment venture or the other. And so they use them as influencers. They use them to endorse these things like this. And people just believe like, oh, if this person could be endorsing this, then it has to be true. But I think people need to look carefully at what they believe, because all the glitters is not good. And sometimes there are deeper things that you can see. And another thing too, I think is also greed, because it's not as if some persons do not suspect, but when you think about all the gains that are being offered, they just want to grab it. And you should think about it. What do they stand to gain from giving you so much? And they make it seem like, oh, it's because maybe they're launching the particular coin, so it's at the initial stage. So those who come in first are the ones to benefit. You should look again before you make investments into such
You know
things.
what really surprised me from what Blessing just spoke to? This idea of influencers. And I think in our generations, we didn't have those kind of thing. Maybe social media has created a new lexicon for some certain people. You see, sometimes people we even call influencers are people who are morally bankrupt. She'll give you an indication that no matter who is getting, you have to look at people, the level of their morality, before you even believe and follow them. There are some certain persons that are going to suggest something to me, and if I see their name, the first thing I'm going to look at, I have to look at their moral principles. Are they genuine people? But you see, you have a generation of people. This is why they are talking, some people say Malians, because they are smoking Indian hemp. And they say, you are smoking Indian hemp, you become my influencer. How do you influence us in this kind of an environment? This is something that Nigerians really need to speak to our youths to determine who are really influence them. Not people who are morally bankrupt. Who you see on the street doing all manner of absurdities, and then suddenly they become influencer and determining the life and fate of other people. But for me, really, as a person, people should look at, if somebody is promising you good, you have to look at the person's background and see how moral the person is. That you say this person, we are even seeing pastors even scam. So you have to look at people's value before you actually have to sheepishly follow them. Because if somebody can do or break a law, that person can also dupe. It's just simple arithmetic. You don't need to go to anywhere to look at it. If somebody can break a law, a known law, that person can do any crime. So we should not be looking at who is behind the picture you're seeing. Just understand that some of all these things are not real, no matter what name that is flashed at his back.
You know, in every society, you always have the good, bad,
and the ugly.
They're always there, no matter what you do, no matter the level of awareness or the level of orientation. But according to the story, these influencers, you know, the scammers are taking advantage of these videos. It means these videos are doctored. In fact, maybe some of these influencers are not even aware of this.
Are they doctored? Because if they are doctored, the influencers would have come up to say, I did not endorse that. Yeah. They would have put up a disclaimer.
Yeah, but according to it, it's a fake video, which shows that the purpose intended initially has been changing this purpose. You could record a video, for instance, put it on social media space, on your page, and a scammer could go there and take advantage of it for his own reason. So the story is saying a fake video disguising as if these are coming from this influencer. So it's a make-believe, you know.
Okay,
the
then the influencers should be very vigilant and put up a disclaimer quickly.
Our definition of fake is shifting. I read one social media or one post, and I think it was on Twitter last week. One spokesman said that it was misquoted for 8 years.
That's interesting.
Oh yes, even including things he said online that people can hear. You see, sometimes
it couldn't be corrected for 8 years.
Yeah, you see, this is the real issue. Now people can hear you speaking, and people are putting meaning to things you have said, and then you come around and tell us that for 8 years that people were doctoring what you said. But you see, this is just the environment where we have found ourselves, where people morally bankrupt, and you can see all manners of things, and people can deny things without really looking back, because truth is scarce in our streets.
Great. The truth is scarce, but NITDA has taken that challenge now to make it open to Nigeria that they need to be wary.
No, I think for the influencers that if you know that you did not endorse something and it's online and you don't put out a disclaimer, you're as guilty as the person who's scamming, because there is some level of complicity. So you are liable as the scammers are. So this is where influencers need to come out. If you have not endorsed any video or any company, any kind of investment, and one is having your picture, having a video you did, whether doctored or somehow taken out of context, then you should put out a disclaimer. Otherwise, you are as liable as the scammers.
Great. Another alert this time around is not about crypto, it's not about any scam, it's about flood. The Nigerian Meteorology Agency has issued a weather forecast predicting heavy rainfall for Thursday, which is today and tomorrow, in various states across the country, and the possibility of flash floods occurring in some of the states. There are various states, Bauchi, Gombe, and all that now. Now, this alert is coming at this time. Today is Thursday. I was hoping Lagos would be in the list, but I can't find Lagos in the list. But it doesn't mean we're not going to, we are immune. But the truth is a reality we have to live with. The climate change is here, is the order of the day. But what kind of preparation is needed for us to be able to manage this kind of change that is imminent?
Yeah, but at least we thank the agency for again coming out to warn us. And of course, no matter how they want people who don't always learn, and they think that listen. And I think we are too fatalistic people. When you're telling somebody this is going to happen and they say, God forbid. See, sometimes it is this God that also allowed rain to fall. Lagos had their fair share. I think it was last week where the whole place was flooded and people were swimming. So flooding is a problem. And we cannot be tired talking about, even us as a people, to heed this simple warning. But you see, the big challenge is just not to give warnings. Now, if you are warning people that flood is coming, what is the alternative where they have to relocate to? I think that is very important. If we are going to see that there's going to be threat to life, and I think this is what governments should really focus on, especially the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, should begin really to invest in some physical structures where, of course, when we have emergency, we can quickly move people into, pending when it is over. And then, of course, you can evacuate them back again to their homes when these issues are. So that when you are giving a warning and you are seeing that things are going to be imminent and people will be largely affected, we also must be making preparations to see how we can make alternative that will provide succor to would-be victims. And I think this is also very important, because if you consider you're asking them to live where they currently stay, but live to where? That's a big question that will require an answer from the government. And I think this is where, for example, we need a whole lot of synergy between government agencies, so that we are going to have some makeshift all across the places where we are hoping that this thing is going to happen, and take people to highlands where, of course, flood will not be able to disrupt their activities and they can have their life. And after the rains, then they can go back to their habitats. I think this is important. But again, to also say to Nigerians, let's stop attacking nature. Because when you push it to the wall, it will always fight back.
Yes, and I think that a flood that has been predicted to have very, very diverse effects, because flash floods, and then NIMET also talked about how the strong winds could pose threats to weak structures, and advised that people in affected areas should disconnect electrical appliances before the onset of the rains. I think that as such predictions are coming and such warnings are coming, there should be a proactive measure towards it. Like the data has been stated, 28 and 29, at least that's what we've been able to predict. Why not declare those days as days where people, that's if we already had an evacuation center to move to. Because people will go about their daily activities not minding this warning. And then you increase the chances of casualties being affected by this. Because people want to fend for their daily needs and say, okay, when the rain starts, I look for somewhere to hide. What if where they take shelter happens to be a weak structure at the time the rain starts? What if in the course of doing their job or course of going about daily activities, electrical appliances have to be on, and these pose threats to life? So being proactive is a key thing, because at this point there's nothing anybody can do than just to hope that, hey, it doesn't really affect me while they go on with whatever they want to do. So these are follow-up measures that should accomplish.
Let's move on. We'll go to the Nigerian Immigration Service now, collaborating with Global Migration Research Institute to address the issue of migration challenges that has to do with migration in Nigeria. You have the official migration and you have the illegal migration. The official migration is people japa, which is everybody's the rave of the moment now. So Immigration Service is trying to collaborate with an international agency to address some of these challenges. What do you think, Ndauza?
I think we cannot but continue to migrate. People will continue to move from one place to another in search for livelihood. And I think this has been what has really prompted a lot of people to think and say, where can we find greener pasture? Where can we get things that work in? And especially that, of course, we are in a global world that boundaries are loosened up and we can move from place to place. So these are some of the issues that we have to deal with. But coping migration, I think it may be a very tall order for anybody. We may be able to know and ascertain the reason, but I don't think they are all far from economists, really, except from people who are also moving out for weather purpose, because you also see some people from Western Europe, Eastern Europe, where cold is really terrible, and they're also shifting base to places where they can find, so-called, you have places that are prone to hurricanes, places that are prone to earthquakes and the rest of it. A lot of people also would need to migrate out of those places so that to avoid some eventualities. Now, these are already known facts why people will have to move or relocate. But you see, the real challenge, and because this affects us, Nigerians talk about Japa and Japa. If you check online, you will also see even among the first 10 countries that are migrating or moving, we are not among them. We are not among them. And the beauty is also the fact that when you also look at the economic impact of migration, I think we're about ninth country who benefits a lot from migration. That is diaspora remittances. So which means even if people are moving out, it's also adding value to us as a people. And I think what we really need to do as a people is to see how we can really prepare our people to offer services to other nations. Now, when you look at the history of colonialism, for example, you will see that it was a kind of a social program to move people out of Europe, for example, because there was pressure on the ground, so that revolution will not happen. So you needed to offload them. And then you move them out of Europe and they came to other parts of the world. So the middle class that would have created a problem as a result of unemployment and hunger came to have a kind of a new life in the new territories. So, and we're seeing that even in India happening. We're also seeing it in China, where a whole lot of people have to be moved out. They're not moving it out because, of course, they love to come to a place, but they're actually looking. What they're trying to do is to offload their social conflicts from their terrain. So that because when you have a situation where a lot of people are unemployed and they are having difficulty to eat, they can create trouble for their home government. And so government deliberately see how to see they can, export those social conflicts to other places. And that happens with people who are facing global population or explosion. And I think Nigerians need to be very purposeful in terms of preparing people. I understand that between India and the UAE, there's a kind of an arrangement where, of course, there are a lot, Indian government has created a portal to do a kind of checks on would-be chef, would-be house helper or housekeepers, you know, people who will work in hospitality industries. They have a data bank for them that when it is needed, they just click there and government a kind of collateralize them and help them move from India to the UAE and other Middle Eastern countries. And they are trained and they have the kind of vocational activity to train these people so that they can fit into those roles in those countries. So what you have done, successfully done, you have moved some people out and then you have removed a pressure from within the environment. I think those are the issues that, of course, we should be addressing, that there are a whole lot of people who are here. We can train them, create a bank for them. And when we can guarantee their character, their behavior, other people can actually receive them. And then they will be of use other places, any good living and having their livelihoods.
That's great. I was speaking with one government official who said, with what the president is doing now, many Nigerians, we use this word, we jakpada. That means those who left will find their way back to the country.
Well, we hope that happens.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I think that what Idahosa has said is a very good way to handle things like this. At least it will check illegal migration, which even endangers the lives of those who were moving.
That's great. What a way to wrap up this news analysis. That was our thanks for sharing your thoughts as usual.
All my pleasure.
Great.